When was the last time you felt you had the right answer, the perfect idea, but no one in the room even considered it? You present a logical, well-structured argument, but you are met with a blank stare, an interruption, or worse, with that polite indifference that signals your opinion simply doesn't carry weight. This silent frustration, the feeling of being invisible even when you have value to offer, is not a problem of logic. It's not about having the best data or the most brilliant solution. It's a neurological problem. You are trying to convince the wrong part of the brain. While you appeal to reason, the other person's brain has already made a decision about you on a much more primitive and powerful level. A decision based on safety, threat, and instinct. And most of the time, without you realizing it, you are setting off all the wrong alarms. In this video, we are going to decode the neuroscience of influence. This is not about manipulation, but about understanding. We will analyze the brain's architecture to understand why some people command instant trust, while others struggle to be heard. You will learn to deactivate the threat detector of the other person's brain and to activate the neural circuits of connection and trust. This is not just another guide on being confident. It is an operations manual for trust. We will translate complex science into tactics you can apply today. Because influence is not magic, it's a science. And it's time for you to learn the rules. 1. The amygdala's veto. Why the brain's threat detector rejects you before your logic is even heard. The human brain is a survival machine optimized over millennia. And the gatekeeper of every social interaction is not your logical CEO, the prefrontal cortex. It is the instinctive and hypervigilant security guard, the amygdala. Before your logic, your credentials, or your brilliant proposal even reach the boardroom of the other's mind, the amygdala has already done a full scan of you, and it only has 2 questions. Is this safe? And does this represent a threat? This is why you feel your opinion carries no weight in a group conversation. It's not about the content of what you say. It's about the metadata you transmit without realizing it. Your slightly rushed tone of voice, your slightly contracted posture, the gaze that averts too quickly. To the other person's amygdala, these are warning signs. They are read not as nervousness, but as a lack of status, uncertainty, or worse, an anomaly in the social environment that needs to be neutralized or ignored. It's a neurological veto. Your influence is stopped at the door. Analyze a power archetype like Harvey Specter. When he enters a room, he does not hurry. His movements are deliberate, economical. His gaze is not aggressive, but it is unwavering. He doesn't fill the silence with empty words. He commands it. What he is doing, on a neurological level, is communicating control and status. He sends a clear signal to the amygdala of everyone in the room. I am in control of this environment. There is no uncertainty here. Therefore, there is no threat. He is not asking for permission to be heard. He is establishing the framework where being heard is the natural consequence of his presence. Think about your next important interaction, a work meeting, an interview. Instead of obsessively focusing on the first words you will say, concentrate on how you enter the space. Walk more deliberately. When you sit down, occupy your space without arrogance, but with purpose. Before you speak, pause for a second and make eye contact. You are not being slow. You are being calculated. You are communicating, through body language, that you are a stable and high-value element in the environment. This is the first layer to rewiring others' perception of you. You need to get past the security guard before you can talk to the CEO. And the security guard doesn't understand spreadsheets or logical arguments. He understands power, status, and control. 2. The oxytocin protocol, using strategic vulnerability to disarm defenses and trigger bonding. Once you have navigated past the amygdala and avoided the initial veto, the next phase of influence begins. And here, we face a paradox that most men seeking power misunderstand. They believe that trust is built on a foundation of perfection and impenetrable strength. But the neurological reality is more sophisticated. A wall of perfection does not invite trust. It invites scrutiny. It keeps the other's defenses activated. This is where the oxytocin protocol comes in. Oxytocin is often called the neurochemical of connection, or bonding. It's what the brain releases to signal safety, belonging, and trust. While demonstrating status calms the amygdala, it is oxytocin that opens the way to genuine influence. The strategic question is, how do you induce the release of this neurotransmitter in another person's brain? The answer is counterintuitive, through strategic vulnerability. This is not about confessing your current weaknesses or insecurities. That would be a status mistake. Strategic vulnerability is the calculated revelation of a small flaw, a past challenge, or an overcome struggle. It is an act that communicates, I am not a predator competing with you. I am a human being who, just like you, has faced challenges. This act has a profound neurological effect. It deactivates the competitive and judgmental mode in the other's brain and activates the collaborative mode. This directly addresses the internal conflict that many feel between the need to use a technique and the desire to be authentic. Strategic vulnerability is not a mask. It is the calibrated revelation of a real part of you to achieve a strategic goal. It is proof that you do not need to be perfect to be powerful. Think of a leader who, instead of just presenting the results of a project, briefly shares a lesson he learned from a mistake. Early in his career, he doesn't lose status. He gains humanity. He seems more real, more trustworthy. By doing this, he is giving the team's brain a dose of oxytocin, creating a bridge of loyalty that a pure demonstration of power could never achieve. You stop being an authority figure to be feared or challenged and become a leader to be followed. It is a subtle change, but one that completely transforms the power dynamic. 3. Hacking the mirror neuron system. The art of making someone feel understood on a subconscious level. After neutralizing the threat and building a bridge with strategic vulnerability, the interaction enters its most subtle and powerful phase. This is where you go from someone who can be heard to someone who understands me. Many feel socially lost at this point, as if the rules of the game were unknown. The fundamental rule is this: logic convinces, but emotion connects. And the neurological basis of connection is the mirror neuron system. Simply put, mirror neurons are the part of your brain that fires when you observe someone perform an action, as if you are performing it yourself. It's the neurological Wi-Fi that allows us to feel empathy. When you see someone smile, your mirror neurons fire, and you understand the feeling of joy. When you see someone in a posture of defeat, you feel an echo of that feeling. Making someone trust you on a deep level is the art of intentionally activating this system. The tactic for this is calibrated mirroring. It is crucial to understand the word calibrated. This is not cheap imitation. If someone crosses their arms and you immediately copy them, you will be detected as false and manipulative, confirming the feeling of being an imposter that many fear. Calibrated mirroring is more sophisticated. It's about mirroring the other person's emotional state and rhythm, not necessarily their exact actions. Observe the presence of archetypes like Keanu Reeves in interviews. He does not dominate the conversation. He attunes to it. If the interviewer is excited, his energy subtly increases. If the tone is serious and introspective, he becomes a well of calm and focused attention. He mirrors the pace of speech, the pauses, the emotional intensity. The result is that the other person does not feel interviewed. They feel deeply heard and validated. Their brain is processing Keanu's signals and concluding on a subconscious level, he is like me. He understands. In your next important conversation, practice this shift in focus. Stop planning your next sentence and instead tune into the other person's channel. What is their speed of speech? What is their energy level? What is the core emotion they are conveying? Let your own communication subtly align with that rhythm. You are not faking it. You are practicing an advanced form of listening, one that goes beyond words and connects directly to the other person's neurological experience, making them feel, perhaps for the first time, truly understood. 4. The dopamine trigger. How to frame your ideas to make agreement a rewarding experience for them. Up to this point, we have operated on a subconscious level. We have calmed the threat, created a bond, and established a rapport. Now, we enter the field of active persuasion. And here, there is a fundamental mistake that perpetuates the frustration of not being taken seriously. The mistake is to believe that a negotiation or any exchange of ideas is a battle to be won. This win-lose framing puts the other person's brain in a defensive mode. The strategic approach is to change the game, to make the other person feel victorious by agreeing with you. The key to this is one of the most powerful neurochemicals, dopamine. Dopamine is the engine of the brain's reward system. It is released when we anticipate or receive a prize, making us feel good and motivated to repeat the behavior. True influence is not about forcing someone to accept your logic. It's about framing your ideas in a way that agreement becomes a rewarding experience for the other person's brain. This is the essence of high-status framing. Instead of presenting a proposal focused on why you are right or why your idea is good, you frame it in terms of the other person's desires, ego, and interests. The question to be answered is not, how can I convince you? But rather, how can my solution make you feel smarter, more powerful, or more relieved? Analyze how Harvey Specter closes his deals. He rarely wins by the brute force of logic. He wins by presenting his solution as the smartest and most advantageous path for the other party. He connects his proposal directly to the opponent's ambition or deepest problem, making accepting the deal seem like a masterstroke on their part. By agreeing, their brain receives a rush of dopamine, associating Harvey not with an adversary, but with a source of personal victories. In a practical situation, imagine you need your team to adopt a new tool. The standard approach would be to list the logical features and benefits. The strategic approach is to frame it as a reward. You would say something like, I know how much everyone hates that manual report that eats up Friday afternoon. This new tool automates that completely. Adopting it means your Friday afternoon is yours again. Suddenly, agreeing with you is no longer a submission. It is a smart choice to obtain a personal reward. You stop selling your idea and start selling them, a better version of themselves. This is how you create allies and transform resistance into voluntary acceptance. 5. Blueprint for belief. How cognitive ease and predictability solidify long-term trust. The tactics we have discussed so far allow you to win crucial moments. They allow you to navigate a negotiation, create a connection, and influence a decision. But true authority, unshakable status, is not built in moments. It is forged over time through a final and fundamental principle, the construction of a pattern of belief. Rewiring someone's brain to trust you is not a one-time event. It is a reputation engineering project. The neurological principle here is cognitive ease. The human brain is fundamentally lazy. It evolved to conserve energy. Therefore, it trusts what is easy to process. Consistency is easy. Predictability is easy. Reliability is easy. Uncertainty, inconsistency, and incongruence, on the other hand, require a huge expenditure of energy to be processed. They create cognitive stress and activate the circuits of distrust. Becoming a source of long-term trust is the art of making your existence easy for others' brains to process. This is achieved through radical congruence. This is where superficial tricks fail and sustainable inner transformation begins. Every promise you keep, every deadline you meet, every time your word manifests as reality, you are adding a brick to this blueprint for belief. You are creating a pattern of positive predictability. People no longer need to spend mental energy wondering if you are trustworthy. Their brain has already created a shortcut that classifies you as the safe choice. Observe the power trajectory of an archetype like Tommy Shelby. Ultimately, His power comes not just from his ability to intimidate, but from his reputation for ruthless execution. His word becomes a social contract. When he says something will happen, the brains of allies and enemies alike process it not as a possibility, but as a future fact. This predictability of results gives him a gravitational power that transcends any single interaction. This leads us to the final answer, which is not about what to do, but about who you need to become. Every small action of your day is an opportunity to build this blueprint. The way you respond to an email, the punctuality with which you arrive at a meeting, the honesty with which you admit a small mistake. Stop seeing these actions as trivial tasks and start seeing them for what they really are, the building material of your authority. Long-term trust is the inevitable result of consistency. By becoming predictable in your excellence, you become the default choice for respect and influence. We have journeyed through the layers of the human brain, from its most primitive gatekeeper to the circuits of reward and connection. We have seen that influence is not a mystical gift, but a skill that can be decoded and mastered. The path to rewiring someone's brain to trust you can be summarized in 5 strategic principles. First, respect the amygdala's veto. Before any logic, your presence communicates status and safety. Master your nonverbal signals to pass through this gate. Second, use the oxytocin protocol. Use strategic vulnerability to disarm defenses and transform a competitive interaction into a human connection. Third, hack the mirror neuron system. Go beyond hearing words and tune into the other's emotional state so they feel deeply understood. Fourth, trigger the dopamine trigger. Frame your ideas not as victories for you, but as rewards for them, making agreement a desirable experience. And fifth, build your blueprint for belief. Understand that long-term trust is forged on the anvil of consistency. Your actions must be the constant echo of your words. In the end, these are not just tactics to be used. They are tools to sculpt who you become. The frustration of being invisible, the fatigue of being the nice guy, who is always overlooked, and the fear of exposing yourself are not solved with more logic, but with more control over the dynamics that govern human interactions. This is not about becoming fake or a manipulator. It is about removing the barriers of anxiety and lack of technique so that your authentic competence and value can finally manifest. True authority is not granted, it is built. Respect is not asked for, it is commanded. From today on, every interaction is a training ground. Every promise, no matter how small, is a brick in the foundation of your reputation. The final question is not what are you going to do, but who are you becoming? Start becoming the man whose presence alone communicates value. Become the default choice for respect and trust.